Good morning. I'm John Negron, president of the Theta Lambda chapter of Phi Theta Kappa. I am pleased to introduce our speaker for the 2021 Sarah Ann Staples Seminar Day, Dr. Shashi Poddar. Dr. Poddar has received his bachelor's degree in electronics and communication engineering from SRM University, India, and his master's in instrumentation engineering from the Academy of Scientific and Innovative Research, India, where he also pursued his PhD. He then joined as a scientist with Central Scientific Instruments Organization, Chandigarh, India. He was later selected for a Fulbright grant in the USA with the University at Buffalo, New York. Currently, he is pursuing his postdoctoral research from the University at Buffalo and is toward the end of his journey in the USA. His research interests include optimal state estimation, image processing, computer vision, and machine learning.
Namaste and good morning to one and all who is present here to attend the presentation on natural and constructed environment. I am a Fulbright scholar from India, and I have basically an engineering background and currently work as a scientist with CSIO Chandigarh in India. So, and over here in USA, I am working at Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at the University at Buffalo, SUNY, New York. So, before I go ahead with the presentation of like natural and constructed environment, I would like to just show you the first slide of my presentation. You can see there a very green, very nice, soothing kind of landscape. But over there, just because my name and just because there is a title, you can see that it is actually creating a kind of mismatch to the environment. So but this is a digital environment. Now you can imagine a similar situation happening in and around us. Like there used to be a lot of green space. There used to be a lot of greenery in and around us. But as the population is increasing, the greenery is decreasing, and eventually the buildings and the constructions are coming up. So the topic of this particular presentation is to emphasize on what is the effect on natural environment due to the construction and how both of them are interrelated. And during the presentation, I will also focus on what are the problems and what could be possible solutions in order to handle this situation. So I'm going to take you forward now to the next slide. In this slide, you can just see how beautiful nature inspires us to do something good and is actually a motivator for innovation. Whereas on the other side, when we have a street or when we have a constructed environment kind of city environment, in those cases, it is very competitive. It has a nightlife, but equally there is a lot of stress among people. People are like in a competitive mode, and it is a very noisy environment. So you can imagine like the difference between both of them. Like one is very calm environment, the other is a noisy one. The other one is full of anxiety. The other one is full of like being in a very calm mode, or like you do not need to be in any kind of stress. So that's the difference that it makes by being in a natural ecosystem than being in an artificial ecosystem. So what happens here is, like, as the population or as we move towards the growth, the construction or the development of social changes and the growing need of energy, what we find is that people eventually try to stay alone. People eventually try to find comfort in their own living space, and there is actually a growing need of energy. With the growth of population, there is also increasing need of urbanization. This urbanization is much more faster than the rate of increase of population. According to an estimate, the population by 2050 would have grown by 33%, whereas the urbanization will grow by 50% or even more by 2050. So you can see the kind of disparity between both of them. And according to federal highway estimates, combined space for the parking and the cars is more than the area that is covered by Western Virginia. So you can imagine the kind of space that our roads have been taken away. So when a road is constructed over a mountain or passes through a river, it actually disturbs the natural ecosystem of that particular space or that particular place. And although efforts are made to ensure that things still or the natural system still keeps on going the way it was, it does disturb the system. So uh, with increasing needs of the people, there are more demands for more housing. As the housing demand increases, there is also more increase in the waste, and not just the hazardous waste or building construction waste. There are different other waste products that eventually comes up when a new city is built or a city expands. So now what actually matters is that how we build a community. So the built environment has a direct impact on a natural environment. The natural environment, so what are the different effects that it actually degrades the air quality? If suppose we construct a building by the seashore, or if we make a building by the near a waterfall or any construction near a waterfall, it will disturb the natural ecosystem. It will reduce the air quality, increase the air pollution, also disturb the water quality, and may also affect some of the endangered species. So what happens is like what happens when we construct a building? Let's first discuss on that. Like let us imagine that we are constructing a building on a particular space. So when we build a community or when we build a society, the amount of the place that where the building or a community is developed actually matters a lot. So there are a lot of policies, or you can say guidelines, that helps us or that can help us in reducing this impact of buildings or constructed environment on a natural environment. So when there should be there whenever a building is constructed or a society is built, it has to be on a specific kind of land. It has to be in and around a particular kind of area. It has to be also it has to be also in and around a particular area where there is a good transportation infrastructure, and the building design itself should be such that it should try to be as green as possible. We will cover these details more into further slides. And what actually happens with the natural ecosystem is like there is a loss of habitat for a lot of animals. There's a loss of water resources and wetland. There's also contamination of land with hazardous material, loss of vegetation, and also loss of impervious surface, which increases runoff. And this has actually there has been several examples in the world where due to high rate of building or construction, the lot of floods have started occurring more, and the drainage system actually gets coagulated, and people are not able to have a effective drainage system in the city. With the effect or with the rising construction, we actually increase our carbon footprint, and there is overall effect a bigger impact on the climate. Some of the effects of climate change is well known to us, and I also wanted to show you through this slide. Nowadays people are having water shortages, longer winters, and in like adverse climates. You just see what's happening in Texas nowadays. Like no one could have expected the temperatures to go so low, and the windmills over there are not treated for snow, so like the windmills have frozen, although they have been producing 23% of their energy demand through wind energy or alternate sources, but still they are not planned, they were not planned according to that. And then also due to the climate change or due to this kind, there has been a huge impact on the temperatures, the like rainfall changes, and along with the urbanization, there's also increase in industrialization. With increase in industrialization, we increase more industrial pollutants, we increase more pollution in air, in pollution in water, and which eventually is leading to the global rise in temperature across the world. Now, now there has to be solutions which has to be local in nature, and there has to be solutions which has to be global in nature. Now let's discuss something about what locally the local governments or the local societies can do at their end. So what matters is how we build and what we build. So where we build, or you can say that where we build. So where we build is like we should target that we should build away from sensitive areas, and we should focus on development around the transit areas. Let me give more detail on that. So when we say that away from sensitive areas, it means that we should try to have constructions or buildings where the ecological balances or where not much of ecology is actually disturbed. So if imagine if there is already a city it is, which is already urbanized, it is better to have a city expanding or construction in and around that particular city rather than developing a completely new city by uh, uh, paving up, by removing the forest land or the cropland from some other area. Other than that, once a building is made or when a building is being constructed, the location is very important, that it should be located in and around the transit area. As in, if suppose if your home is very near to a public transport facility, you will tend to use more of public transport than of a private transport. And if the people are connected in that manner, it will reduce the amount of time people spend in personal cars. People will tend to walk more, and that will lead to a better life style of human beings in those areas. Similarly, the other aspect of where we build is it should other than away from sensitive areas, is it should be a compact development kind of or the societies should be built in a compact manner. What it means is like there should be more employment density, and it should have a mixed kind of development. Both the residential and the commercial buildings should be in and around the same area, so it will form a balance for the people who are staying there. Those who are working there, if their home is near to their own work location, they will tend to travel less. And this kind of strategy will not only help in saving fuel, but will also save time of the people, and provide, and people will get more time for spending on their personal habits of like doing a yoga or doing more exercises, having more recreation, and this will lead to a stress-free life. Then the other aspect of where we build is street connectivity. The streets should be connected in such a way that people tend to walk more and use less of cars. If the cars, if all the streets of a neighborhood are connected to the main street or highway, then people will tend to use cars rather than walking. So there are several guidelines how a street should be planned or how the street should be connected. Furthermore, there should be a community design that within a community there should be more sidewalks. The traffic should be the traffic lights should be planned in such a way that there are more crosswalk lighting and several other traffic control measures. The other aspect of how and where we build is the green building. It means that if suppose we have buildings which are able to generate its own power source, that is either having solar plants of their own or having and trying to reuse the water, so that way if a society is in a closed loop manner, it will have reduced dependency of these kind of resources from power lines or from water lines that are coming like far away from the particular society. Similarly, there should be also a setup for reuse of hazardous or or reuse of construction material. And if this kind of if this kind of plannings are done before a particular construction is planned, then it will really help us or help the society to contribute in reducing the carbon footprint. These were some of the measures that are possible at local level. Also, there are other things that are possible or interventions are required by government and also by private industries. Now, in case of government interventions, they need to push for more uses of renewable energy. They can incentivize people to use solar plants, and that's happening in and across different societies and different places in different parts of the world, and it's really worth appreciating. And then a government should also now start incentivizing the energy storage system. If the renewable energies are developed, it needs to be stored. If more research and more development is carried out in the energy storage systems, it will surely help in uh, mass energy uses when there are like failures of power grids and when power is actually needed by people. Then again, the other aspect of government intervention is like if efficient digitization is carried out, then people may not do all the work from the office desk. There can be a lot of work that can be done from home. And it's similarly the private industry, if they promote people working from home, and like if everything can be controlled digitally, like the production plan and other things digitally from home, people need not travel, they can work from home. And once people do not travel just because they have to go for an office for half an hour, then they save a lot of fuel, the time and the energy, which can be used in some other productive manner. Similarly, reducing or like increasing use of public transit or public transport facilities will help not just the government but also people at large. And electrical vehicles are really a boon to this, because if suppose the public transportation systems are made electrical, then in that case it will not just save fuel cost but will also help in reducing the uses of fossil fuel based energy systems. Once we've spoken about what government and what societies can do, let's also discuss about what we as an individuals can do or what private players are doing. So, for example, if you see there are now mobile apps which can track your carbon usage. So if suppose there is a competition between neighbors that who uses the least amount of carbon footprint, it can be a good source of motivating people towards contributing lesser and lesser to the global warming. Similarly, now there are IoT based systems like Google Nest can track your uses of thermostat or can regulate your temperature setting on its own depending on the pattern. Similarly, Google Map can give you the best direction, avoiding the traffic jam for going from one place to the other. So it helps us in reducing the fuel cost. Then, people can also, people are also trying to go for open source movement. Like Tesla has provided all its electrical vehicle based patent online, and it is open for people to use. So that way it is, they are contributing towards reducing the uses of fossil fuel based vehicles, and motivating people or motivating industries to contribute towards the development of electrical vehicles. Then there is also a concept of geoengineering. However, this is little conflicting, but yes, people are trying this too. For example, algae farming, and then trying to direct the mirrors or align mirrors in the space to direct more solar rays on the earth so that it can be used for solar plants. And however, this kind of activities or this kind of approaches are currently under discussion. And but other than that, like the uses of mobile apps, IoT based monitoring systems, then open source movement, and then also there are data centers which are now 100% based on renewable energy sources. For example, Apple did it some time back, that all its data centers are now based on 100% energy resources, 100% renewable energy sources. So these are some of the examples. And then this is also another, so now let us discuss some of the examples also in real life which people have been doing. So first, I'll tell you about a person named as Mr. Afroz Shah from Mumbai. He has been cleaning the beaches and trying to remove maximum amount of uh, like plastic bottles or trash which are there in and around the beach. So that way he and his team is contributing towards cleanliness and reducing the climate change. So then you can see on this slide there is a building which has all trees or like on its outer. So for example, this is the world's largest vertical, not this specifically, but the world's largest vertical garden is in Colombia, which is a multi-residential building. And so they claim to be a green building. They claim to reduce the carbon footprint and also contribute by planting or having more trees in the space that is available to them. And then we have in India a person called Jada Payang. He is also called as Forest Man of India. He has on his own planted forest in an area of 2.12 square mile. And so you can he has on his own in an individual level has done something which is worth appreciating. So if individuals can do something bigger, we as a society or we as a small society can really do wonders. Now, so these are some of the interventions technologically that people are trying to do. And then there are something which is related to my field now, which is helping the society too in reducing the effect of constructed environment on the natural environment. So the robotics. So there are different kinds of robots which are helping different kinds of industries. The first robot which you see on the left hand side on the top is a cleaning robot which tries to clean the oil spills on the sea. You would have heard several times that oil gets spilled on the sea, and there is a huge impact on the ecology balance or the to the creatures which are there under the sea. So it needs to be cleaned. Who will do that cleaning? So there are robots, and people are designing and developing efficient and better robots to do this work. Then there are agriculture robots, or the bots which can help in farming. If we are able to do more farming, or if we are able to do efficient farming, we'll be able to produce more crops out of the same area. So picking up the ripened fruit, not by the hands but automatically by machines, then plowing and and providing like irrigating the farms. So over these places now robots are slowly and gradually entering into the farms. And also there is an example of drones and different kinds of autonomous vehicles which is used for conservation of different animals. So on the slide that you see here, there is a drone which is trying to map the area and visualize the areas where elephants are there, and whenever there is a poaching attempt, the drones keeps a monitor on them and helps the society, helps the police in tracking those kind of activities. And on the rightmost side, you see there is a robot called as a Scout. What it does, it tries to check if there is any leakage or in the pipe and in the city water pipe. So if suppose there is a robot which can help you in track the actual location of the leak, it will surely help in reducing the water which would have a water wastage. So there are a lot of things which people are actually helping, not just in terms of policy making, but also in terms of technological intervention. And the last example that I wanted to show you is of a experimental swimming robot which can detect and monitor pollutants in the water. On the like that the GIF file that you see there, like it's like a snake robot which can detect the toxic bodies in the water and thus help in maintaining ecological balance. So the effect of all the construction or all the development work that has been happening on the ecology or on the natural environment needs to be catered, and needs to be catered very effectively, so that what we have got from our previous generation, we are able to give better to the next generation. If not better, at least something which they can do better with. So before ending my presentation, I'll just quote an eminent scientist, James Gaia, that during who pretends that global organisms and understand and we as a global organization, that we are all part of one global organism, and understanding both natural and constructed environment and our relation to them is vital should we wish to continue this story to the next generation. So let this world evolve to the better, so that we give something better for the next generation and help in reducing the climate change and contribute towards bringing back our natural resources, so that we are having a better life, not just for ourselves and our children, but for generations to come. Now, before I close my presentation, I will just mention what an eminent scientist has hypothesized. That is, we are all part of one natural ecosystem. Like we are all part of one system, and how we interact with them, like how we as an individuals and how we as a society interact with our natural system, actually will determine what will be given to the next generation. So, so we need to protect our environment. We need to protect the climate. We also need to reduce our carbon footprint. We need to uh, promote uses of renewable energy. We need to contribute towards the technological interventions, and we also need to keep pushing for more policy changes, so that the government and the public both together help in reducing the overall effect on our climate, because nobody would like to have a climate which is very adverse. Everyone would like to have climate which is as per predictions. So let the world evolve for better. And with this, I thank you all very much for listening me patiently. And if you have any queries, feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.